The holidays are coming, Thanksgiving is coming, and cauliflower gratin is gonna be on your table because it's super easy, so much flavor. We're roasting the cauliflower. I'm gonna explain why. We're making a cheese sauce. It goes together really quickly, and it can go in the oven by the time your turkey is sitting on the counter just waiting. So let's make it so you can be excited too. Thanksgiving is coming up, and I have you covered for everything you need, from the turkey to the dessert to side dishes. And today is cauliflower au gratin, which I really love because it's a unique take on some type of vegetable to have as a side dish. And Thanksgiving is the time where we go over the top, we go decadent, we go rich, we go delicious, but we have a variety of things too. So you can pick and choose. Like me, I always have roasted vegetables. I have a massive salad or two, but then I do a few decadent things like this cauliflower. So what we're doing to start is taking one large head of cauliflower, and we're just breaking it down into florets. Now what that means is just bite-sized pieces of this cauliflower. Now, if I get to points that have a lot of stem, all I do is I take that stem and chop it with it into a bite-sized piece, and I'm gonna put it on the sheet pan. I'm not gonna throw it out. The core, I will not dice up for this, but I do eat the core. I save that and I eat it like a fresh vegetable. I don't throw that out. I have this thing. I compost a lot. I just don't like to have food waste if it's something I can enjoy. And if you try the core, if you kind of peel it, cut off some of those layers, guess what? It tastes just like cauliflower, or kind of like cabbage actually. So what I have here are all my florets, and they're going on one big, actually it's just one sheet pan. And what I'm doing is even gonna take these little pieces here. We're gonna throw those on too, because those can roast with it. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna put a nice drizzle of olive oil on it. So anytime you're roasting something, olive oil sets the tone for the ability to caramelize, to brown, and it adds flavor. So that's why we get it all around, and you really wanna make sure you get a nice amount on there. Now, the recipe is always, this isn't a place where you have to guess. I have the recipe in the description below this video. I also always have it on my website, wiseguide.com. If you happen to get my holiday pre-order magazine this year, you can't get it anymore, but if you got it, you'll find this recipe in there too. So I'm just gonna put that olive oil, make sure I just kind of zhuzh it up around these, and then spread them out into an even layer. And then we're gonna do a nice sprinkle of kosher salt. Now I always say kosher salt because kosher salt measures differently than table salt. Other salts use half the amount usually of table as you do kosher, because kosher is bigger. So whatever salt you use, just adjust for what you have. And then we're gonna do some fresh black pepper. So we're gonna put this all around. It's gonna add the flavor. And now we're gonna put this right into the oven to roast. Why are we roasting it? A lot of times on this recipe, people will just cook it in some salted water. I don't really like the texture of that type of cauliflower. I like to roast it so it gets a little more crisp edges and a good crisp, tender texture. So we're gonna roast this until it's just crisp, tender. We're gonna make the sauce. It's gonna be good. I'm finishing up some onion because we're gonna make the bechamel here while all the cauliflower is roasting, which really it can be done together and it really doesn't take that long. So I have butter melting on the stove, and we're using butter because we want that flavor to later on really make a roux. So this onion is going to soften and saute in that butter just until it's getting translucent and soft. And then we're gonna come together, add some garlic, build the sauce on top. But here for just a little bit, this is gonna just saute and kind of sweat out. Just finished up mincing my garlic. I'm gonna take it over. Now it's a hefty amount of garlic because cauliflower can handle it. And we're using some cheese that can handle it. So as you can see, the onions are just softened. They're not turning color. I'm gonna put the garlic in now because we did not want the garlic to turn bitter. So I'm gonna let that just cook for a few seconds here to kind of really just heat up. That's all garlic needs to do. We're gonna at this point season with salt and pepper. You should always just season as you're cooking. That adds those layers of seasoning that really in the end have a well-seasoned dish, and you end up using less salt overall in the end. So as that garlic now smells so fragrant, I'm gonna add my flour. So we're making a roux with that butter we had in there. And what I wanna do is really cook the flour. We wanna cook it till it kind of becomes like a paste and wants to coat the bottom of the pan, and it cooks out that raw flavor. Now what you can see is it's starting to kind of just clump up into a mass because that flour is coating all that onion and garlic. It's starting to create that paste on the bottom. See how I can scrape that off? That means I've cooked it long enough. So it just takes a minute or two of cooking that flour. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna switch to a little whisk or a big whisk. You can do whatever you want. And that's where you add the milk slowly. So you do it a little bit at a time, maybe a quarter to a half a cup at a time, and then let it stir in. This just is an easier way. You can add it all at once, but I find this is an easier way to make sure you get it smooth in the end. I'm adding in my last round of milk, and you can see in between I'm letting it come to a simmer so it thickens. See how it's nice and thick? And we can add our last amount of milk. I just think adding it slowly makes it a little bit more methodical so you can watch it. And then as it comes to a simmer, That's what activates all of that flour to make sure it's actually going to thicken. That's what all we're doing here, is making a quick sauce. So it's kind of like you would do if you're gonna make a homemade mac and cheese, anything like that. So I'm just gonna let this cook, just come up to a simmer here a little bit, and it's already boiling around the edges or just starting to get those bubbles. And then as soon as it's coming all throughout, I can just take it and I can tell it's going to thicken already, which is wonderful. But you see how quick that is? Sauces like this seem intimidating, but they're really not. They really come together super quick. So I'm gonna now take this off the heat. It's thickened, it's doing what it needs to do. We're just gonna finish it up over here. So what I have to finish it up is some good stuff. This is what makes it really good. We have Gruyere cheese, and I'm gonna add most of it in. I'm gonna keep just a little bit out so we can put it right on top too, because no one ever said there was too much cheese. We're gonna put that right in there. And then a couple other things. So we have a small amount, let me get my stirrer. We have a small amount of Dijon mustard. This just adds a nice balance of flavor. Dijon mustard has the ability to really work wonders, kind of like brightening something, add almost a little bit of an acidity, and then some freshly grated nutmeg. And that in a white sauce with the milk and the cheese just really adds this nuttiness. And that nuttiness is just brought out with everything else in there. So what I'm gonna do is just stir this together, let that cheese melt into this sauce. We're gonna pull the cauliflower out here really soon. It's just about done. See how we made this in that time? And we'll assemble, we'll be ready to go. I just pulled the cauliflower out and you can see it's just beginning to want to brown and it's crisp tender. So that's what I love. You don't want it to be mushy, you don't want it to be too soft. I like it to have a little bit of texture. I don't like when my vegetables get mushy. I just think one, they taste gross. Two, probably all the nutrition is out of it, which maybe isn't a question when you're making a cheese sauce to go on top, but either way, I think the texture is better. So that's why if I can, I will roast anything and everything. And what I love about this is it can be assembled now at this point, and it can sit for a couple hours if it needs to. So on Thanksgiving Day, this can kind of be a make ahead. And really, once this is assembled, it's just heating it up till it's bubbly. So it can go in after the turkey is out, warm through, get nice and bubbly, and then be ready to go. So I'm putting this out into a semi-even layer. See that color we're getting on those? It's exactly what you want. Color is your friend. Color on vegetables is flavor. So it's just delicious. We have this cheese sauce that we made. What I'm gonna do is pour it over the top. I'm gonna just make it look pretty here. We're gonna just assemble as needed. I am someone, I know special occasion meals aren't always as big anymore. I love them. I look forward to these meals all year long, plan what I'm gonna make, love to try different foods, create different menus. I actually travel to my sister's every year. My mom and I go out there to Virginia. And so every year I change it up a little bit. We have certain things that are always the same, but certain things that change. And so this will probably be on the menu this year because it's just delicious and it smells amazing. So what I'm doing is making sure I get all that beautiful sauce in there and just coat it as evenly as you can. It's not gonna be perfect, that's okay. Put that right over the top. And now we're gonna finish up with the couple cheeses. We have a little bit left of this Gruyère. You may remember that the Gruyère is just ready to go right on top. A little bit, it just kind of drives home that flavor, finishes it off. And then a little bit of Parmesan, because Parmesan to me is like a seasoning. It just adds more nuttiness that plays with that nutmeg. It's good. Don't question it. And then the final piece de resistance, should I say, is a little bit of butter, melted, and some breadcrumbs, fresh breadcrumbs. We're gonna mix these together. And what I'm gonna do is this is gonna be the topping. So just like you would with anything else, that butter is going to coat these breadcrumbs. It's gonna brown in the oven. Now, what I do have is unsalted butter, so I'm just gonna just a stitch, just to make it, and maybe a little bit of pepper too, because I really like things peppery. And we're gonna put that all in there, and then we just sprinkle these over the top. They get brown and crispy in the oven. Already, I could just eat this as is, but it gets even better if you have the patience to wait. Look how beautiful this is. This is what the holidays are about, is making something special for your loved ones, for yourself, whoever you want. So now we're gonna put this back in the oven. I turn the oven down. It's not at the roasting temperature now, and you can see that in the recipe. We're gonna let it get bubbly. I'm gonna wash my hand before I do that, and then we'll eat. I just took this out of the oven, and so it's still piping hot, but you can see those breadcrumbs on top are nice and crisp. They're beginning just to brown. That cheese was starting to brown. It's exactly what you want. You want it to be bubbling, browned, and it's ready to go. So this is when you would serve it at your meal, or just to yourself. You're worth it to make for yourself. So don't undercount that if you just want it. But what I love is it's just a nice way to serve a vegetable maybe in a different way. Look at how that cheese sauce just coats everything. You get the crispy bits on top, but I love that sauce. Guys, I'm gonna burn my mouth for it because it smells that good. I love the depth of flavor. There's layers here. That Gruyère cheese, it has the nuttiness that's only brought out more by the nutmeg. That beautiful sauce is created is just perfect consistency. I love the texture of it, and I love how, yes, all the cauliflower still has that nice, crisp, tender, just cooked through. It has that great texture from roasting it. This really is a great dish. It does not have to be for Thanksgiving. It does not have to be for Christmas. While it works perfect for both of those, this is a great year-round dish when you want something special. Maybe you're having someone special over. Maybe it's just for some friends coming over. That can be great too. So what do I hope you do with this? I hope you feel empowered to get in the kitchen, make something delicious. Maybe this is the dish you're taking home to the family to kind of excite everyone and impress everyone with what you know how to do. Because if I can do this, anybody can do this. So check my website, wiseguy.com, for this recipe. All my other recipes are on there. I have you covered for Thanksgiving with everything you need to know. Until next time, make something good and have a good Thanksgiving.